Hi, I'm Colleen of Pilates on the Ball. The body has a great capacity to heal, but it takes time and it takes perseverance. The goal of this restorative workout is to stretch out the tight areas and to build endurance in the core muscles. Make sure you're through the acute state of pain before you do this workout. You'll need a small squishy ball, a TheraBand, a mat, and if necessary, use a flat cushion behind your head. Let's get started. Relax on your back and bend the knees. We're going to start by finding neutral pelvis. Take a few breaths. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and just coax your pelvis into a pain-free position with a little dip in your low back. So you have a bit of space in the low back. Breathing in through the nose, and out through the mouth. Let's get started with heel slides. I'm going to put one foot on the small ball, engage the abdominals, and exhale, roll the ball out an inch or two, and inhale to pull the ball in. Exhale out, and inhale in. So keeping the pelvis steady as you roll out, roll ball in, keeping the abdominals engaged. A couple more of these. Exhale out, inhale in. Only going as far as you can keep the pelvis calm and anchored. Last two. Great. Let's set up now for the other side. We will be putting the other foot on the ball, gentle squeeze of the abdominals, and exhale to roll the ball out. Just an inch or two. Inhale in. Exhale out, and inhale in. Staying nice and open in the collarbones, pulling ball in, mouth and jaw relaxed. Last couple of this one. So it's the abdominal connection that will keep the pelvis from rocking during this movement. Exhale out and inhale in. Exhale out and inhale to pull the ball in. Let's push the ball to the side and go into single leg lift. So a gentle squeeze of the abdominals, and on the exhale, lift one leg to tabletop, pause there, and slowly lower down. Same thing, but with the second leg. Exhale up, inhale, pause at the top, and then taking care how you return the leg to the mat. Breathe in and exhale up, pausing as you breathe into the rib cage, and then return. Inhale, exhale, gentle activation of the abdominals, leg lifts, and easing down. So just continue with this. We're alternating legs. Exhale to engage the abdominals and lift the leg. Pause, and then taking care as you return down. So stay with the single leg lift. And after a few days or even a few weeks, we're going to move into double leg lift. And this is definitely more challenging. Both of the heavy legs come up to tabletop. Pause here and then return the feet to the mat. Inhale and exhale, that gentle squeeze of the abdominals. One leg lifts, second leg lifts without letting the pelvis twist, and down. Remember, if there's any pain with this version, you'll just go right back to the single leg work. Couple more, the same thing. Abdominals engage, one leg to tabletop, second leg, so you're keeping that abdominal engagement even as you return the legs down. We're going to intensify this, bringing the legs up, flexing the feet, and then doing a small sort of shuffle of the legs. Just pressing one heel out. So the legs are not going out very far. They're moving an inch or two away from the core. And as you keep the abdominals engaged. Try this again. One leg lifts, second leg lifts. So you're keeping your abdominal connection as you press out one leg and then the other. Very small little motion, always checking in with how your back is feeling. Just deciding if this is the right exercise for you. Now this could also be intensified to single leg stretch. It starts the same way. Engage abdominals, one leg to tabletop, second leg comes up. Flex your feet. And this time you're going to press the leg right out, stretch that leg out, and back to tabletop. Press out. You could flex the feet and press out with the heel. Tabletop legs. Press. This is looking great. Hopefully nobody's straining themselves. Last couple. Pressing out and out. Excellent work. We're going to do a couple more. Remember, if this is too much for anyone, just bring your knees into the chest and wait for us. Let's move on to our hamstring stretches. We're going to put the band wide across the back of one foot. Ease the leg up. The knee could be quite bent. Knee is soft. And trying as much as you can to keep the pelvis in neutral. So imagine you are arching your sit bones down towards the mat. Creating that little bit of space in the low back. And this is an excellent moment to scan the body. Just notice what's going on in the mouth, the jaw. Make sure the back of the neck is released. Remember, it's very important to stretch out the hamstrings as often as possible because of where they attach on the body. Tightness in the hamstrings can create lower back pain and poor posture. We're going to move to the second side. The band will be wide across the back. Second foot. Extend that leg out and up. Remember, your knee could be bent. If you make that small little correction in the pelvis, where you press down heavy between the buttocks, sit bones are arching down towards the mat, You won't need to lift the leg up very high or even have the leg very straight. You will feel a nice stretch in the back of the leg. And after the hamstring stretches, this is a really good time to do bridges. And take away any cushions you might have behind the back of the head. We're going to take our band wide across the back of the thighs. You'll be tying it in front, not too tight. And your feet are apart as we are getting ready to go into bridges. An excellent exercise for endurance in the front and the back of the core. So press evenly in both feet, squeeze the glutes and lift the hips up. Pause here as you reach your knees away and then lower down. The legs are apart as you press evenly into both feet. Squeeze glutes, lift hips up. You're reaching your tailbone towards the back of the knees and lower down. So if you're feeling any pain with these bridges, keep it very, very small. Press into feet, squeeze glutes, lift up. You might even come up just an inch or two, holding there as you're squeezing the glutes, holding and keeping the gluteal squeeze. You'll slowly lower down. And again, we intensify the exercises after a couple of weeks. You could lift the toes up towards the ceiling and press into the heels to lift up. Pause at the top and easing down. Again, squeeze glutes, lift up. Keep pressing into the heels as the toes are lifted up to the ceiling. Holding here, easing down. And if this is too much for you, just go back to the ordinary bridges. So we do our last one. Squeeze glutes, lift up, nice and open in the upper body. Holding at the top and keeping that gluteal squeeze, slowly lower down. I'm going to go right into clam legs, so set yourself up into good side lying. You're going to exhale to press the leg up into the band. Inhale to return. Exhale up and return. So the eye gaze will be straight ahead. You're not looking down at your knees. And it's even, you're even between both sides of the waist. So you don't want the part of the waist that's going down into the mat to be collapsed. Couple more. Exhale to press the leg up and inhale to return. Just think of where you are feeling this. And also think of where the action's coming from. Remember, it's coming from the hip, not from the knee or the ankles. Let's turn over to the other side. Setting yourself up into good side lying, cradling the head or stretching the arm down. Squeeze the abdominals, and on the exhale, press the leg up into the band. Keeping the heels connected. Sometimes it's helpful to press the heels together As you exhale to lift up and inhale to return. And think where you're feeling this. If you had a seam, a side seam in your gym clothes, you'd be feeling the muscle just back of that seam. Last ones. Exhale to press up and inhale to ease down. We're going to finish by untying the band. We'll be putting it right to the side. And going into our hip stretch. This is the hip and buttock stretch. Cross the leg across the opposite thigh. And don't forget to use your small cushion. If you took it away with bridges, you can have your cushion back behind the head. And here you're going to feel the stretch in the buttocks of the leg that is crossed onto the thigh. And as you continue to draw the leg in, think of the sit bones arching down towards the mat. Going to the other side, crossing the leg across the opposite thigh. As you make sure the back of the neck, mouth and jaw released. Again, a very important stretch, this hip and buttocks stretch should be done 4 or 5 times, maybe more per week. We're going into another important stretch, the hip flexor stretch. The hip flexor is the muscle that crosses the front of the hip. So you're hugging one knee deeply in, and you'll be stretching the front of the leg, the hip on the side of the leg that's stretching down the mat. This can also be done with a small ball. Placing both feet on mat, you're going to lift your hips and just nestle the small ball on the back of the pelvis, not in the low back. Hugging one knee in, and the other leg is long and heavy and parallel. Inhale and exhale, hugging the knee deeply in. And easing it in. Again, you're stretching the leg that's front of the hip of the leg that's stretched down the mat. We're going to bend knees, plant feet, pull the ball out, and then bring both knees into the chest. And again, if any of these stretches don't feel right for you, just rest and wait for us. We're going to be rolling over onto the hands and knees. The weight will be equally distributed on all 4 limbs, and make sure you have that slight dip in your low back. Knees are slightly apart. We're going to lift one arm an inch or 2 from the mat. So keep it very small in the beginning. So we go slowly from side to side. The goal here is to keep the torso, the head absolutely still while you add in these small little movements. So nothing is moving in the back extending the arm out. It can be very small at this point, but your palm will face inwards. And eventually, if everything is going well, we can lift the arm a little bit higher. Could come up by the ear or halfway up, but don't let the front of the torso drop at all with this exercise. As you keep the eye gaze to the mat, the sit bones will continue to reach up and back. So we could move into opposite hand and leg. This is very challenging. Right hand, left leg stretches along the mat. The toe will face down towards mat. The palm is facing inward. Come back on the hands and knees. Ready for the second side. Palm is inward, thumb is pointing up towards ceiling. Toes down towards mat. Remember, the neck, the lower body should not be moving at all with this, just the arm and leg. And if this doesn't feel right, just return to the earlier movement of just lifting the arm. And to intensify, you could hold this longer as it adds in balance training. And then we're going to sink into the shell. Very good work. That exercise is very challenging. From the shell, we're going to go down on our stomach. So be very careful with these small extensions. They definitely maybe are not for everyone. So lying on your stomach, we're going to use the exhale to draw up the pelvic floor, to gently draw in the abdominals. And you're just going to hold that for 2 or 3 counts, and then release everything into the mat. And again, use the exhale, draw up pelvic floor, draw in abdominals. You might feel your pubic bone press a little bit heavier into mat. And then release. So you could stay with this, or you could add on the lifting of one leg. It's very, very small. So you first find that abdominal pelvic floor connection, then you're going to reach the leg along the mat, lift it a couple of inches, keeping both hip bones very heavy, and going to the other side. Watch how you return the leg to the mat. Make sure it's done with control. Abdominal connection, stretching the leg, lifting. Think of where you're lifting the leg up from. It's from the back of the leg and the buttocks. So this is looking very good. Hopefully nobody's straining anything. If you've got any pain, come into shell and wait for us. If you wanted to add in more intensity, you could lift the head just an inch or 2. It could kind of hover above the mat as you continue to keep the abdominals strong. Shoulders are just in place. Make sure they're not up by your ears. And the most intensive little variation would be to lift the chest bone. And after 3 or 4 of those, we're going to sink into our shell stretch. Just take a few breaths. That was great work. Just take a moment to see how your body is feeling now compared to when you started the class. And appreciate that you have taken this time for yourself. Let's do this again soon.